Hi guys, welcome back for the installment for the cuff on the sock anatomy and kind of demo bits and pieces. We'll learn a little bit about how to count down to hang it, make sure you're pulling the right rows, so you don't end up with a sock that's kind of wonky at the end. We're getting ready to get started. Stay tuned. Here we go. Heel to toes. Woohoo! So I'm finishing up the 64th row. But because I'm getting ready to hang the hem, I'm actually not going to stop here at my half mark like I normally do. I'm going to go ahead and get that whole set kind of out of my way. And then what I'm going to do is I take the heel weights off. Ta-da! And I reach way, way down inside the sock. All the way to the toe. And just like before, I put nice tension on it. So now what I do is, you see where there's no stitch? I count down, and this is for me because I like a narrow cuff. I don't like a wide cuff. So I just count down 14 rows. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I kind of pinch that fabric and give it a lift and put it on the needle. I go to the next. Now, what I want to show you is how you can tell which bar to pick up. So here's this one, right? See how it's looped into this one right here? Well, if I pull this one right here, see how that kind of acts the same? So see, here's my loop that's not on anything, but it's connected to this stitch. But when I lift that, you noticed, watch this, now watch this stitch. Here's my loop, right? Here's the one that's hung on it. But watch this stitch when I pull this one up. You see how that one shrinks? That's how I know I'm picking up the exact same row. All the way around. So you'll do this all the way around until you're done. And then we'll come back. Okay, so I've got most of the hem hung on here, but I need to finish out these last few rows. These last few stitches. So I just kind of make a fist and just kind of stick it in there. And I just kind of give a tug down as I get through those ones that, there we go. So now I've got several that haven't been hung yet. So we'll finish hanging these, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now I've finished hanging the rest of those stitches on here for our hung hem. And so I'm going to crank around some. I'm pulling on the sock. I don't have any weights in there, but I need to stop. I need to raise up some needles. And remember how I told you we start in a little slightly different place when we do the cuff? I'm going to pull up the needles that I've already knitted. These I haven't knitted yet. And so, because we don't want to knit anymore past that. So now I can crank all the way around. And ta-da. So, then I'll go ahead and I'll raise the rest of the needles, because I don't want my stuff to fall off the machine yet. So I'll disengage the heel spring, because I leave mine on the entire sock except for the very first row. Dave Lord's a genius. The only thing I wish it was that the handle's a little bit shorter, but I can cut it off out there in my shop, so I'm okay. So here's where it ends, is on this needle here. I actually want to knit this needle first. So I actually come to the right of that needle, and I push that needle out, and I get a little snuggish, and I pull that through, because we will actually knit that one off. We'll actually crochet that one off again. And I don't do it really tight, because the tighter you do this, the less stretch your cuff is going to have. So
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was I struggled with, but there was something very specific that you had to yell at me about when I crocheted off that fingerless glove.
Oh, because you're left-handed.
Oh. I thought I was doing something wrong.
No, because when you crochet bind off the machine, you actually do have to change hands.
Oh, and I kept trying to go to the right after I switched hands.
Yes.
Okay.
And which early on in this process, and you notice I do catch this bar. The reason I catch that bar is because it gives me a little bit more stretch in my cuff. If I don't crochet that in, then I don't gain that stretch. But anyway, like I said, when I do this, I'm not doing it real tight. I don't want to pull it real tight because I want this to have stretch where and when I want it. Because sometimes I wear them outside of my leggings, sometimes I wear them under my leggings. I want it to go where I want it to go without any trouble. Okay, when I have to crank the handle around, I always kind of hold my work up like this just to keep it out of my way. And then I'll hold the handle with my knee over here. So it doesn't flop back. My handle is gorgeous on this machine. And again, another shout out to Celeste Angelo, who makes the most incredibly beautiful handles. So as you can see, this doesn't take long to go all the way around and just kind of get these in here. And the nice thing is when this comes off the machine, set aside from a little thing that I'm going to show you here in a minute, that was very specifically requested by one of my YouTube video viewers. Thank you very much. Now remember I said we're going to go through that first needle a second time. And the reason we do is otherwise you end up with this gap. If you see this gap right here, you'll really see that on your sock. And then it just leaves a little something to be desired. So I just pull that sucker through. When I do this, I pull it across the cylinder like that. I'm going to get my handy dandy little shears, pull it up, I snip up here. And I remember the first time I did this in front of my spawn child.
I was so scared.
And she was like, "Oh my God, you just broke it." So I went like this, and she was like, "Ah!" I'm like, "What?" And she was like, "Ah!" So anyway, so here's our sock, fresh off the machine. Now, here's the fun part. Okay, so we've just taken it off the machine, and set aside from dealing with this, we are done with this sock. This sock is actually wear ready except for this. Now, somebody wanted some information about this, and so what I do is I take that long loop and I cinch it up. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to come in and I pick up, let's see, where are we? I'll pick up this top bar here. And what I'm doing is now I'm anchoring this to the sock itself. But I do that kind of twice. I pick up the next bar, the next stitch, and I do this. And now I just do just a quick chain for as many stitches as I want to do. And I actually like to do a lot because the more I can do, that means if I need to come back later and I need to fix this sock, that I'm going to have a goodly little length. I'm going to have 8, 10, 12 inches of fiber to work with. So now I have this really long tail, right? But the reason I want to leave some of this is so when if I need to, I can literally come back in here later and I can pull this apart, I can take it out and I can cut off whatever I need to fix my sock. So what I mean by burying it, see here's my hem. I just get in here and I don't want to go too far. Then I go back a little ways and I get in between the layers of the hem without sticking out, please. And so you see, you can't see it on either side. So right now I've got the hook buried in there. Now when I do this, I end up with a perfect little spot, if you can see this, right here. See that? Comes out there perfectly, right? So, pull this in, and pull it out. And then I just continue to bury it until it's all gone. And when I do this, and I come out in between bars like I did here, I make sure that I go back in the same place that I came out with, so I don't end up with a loop outside of whatever. And I pull it and it's voila, it has disappeared. So literally this sock is fresh off the machine, and there it is. Heels have a tendency to want to have holes. And when you do this wrapped heel like this, you don't have the hole at the end. And see where I anchor it here? That all that extra stitching is what prevents those holes. And the anchoring in the toe does the same thing. See, we don't have any holes. We don't have any funny business. But another nice advantage is if you've done a cuff down sock, then you notice when you change to a mock rib, you end up with that little hole. Well, you notice we don't have that anywhere. We don't have the little holes from the mock ribs or from the this or the that, because we don't have any of that. And we can hide it nicely. On the bottom of the foot here, if I can find it, see right here? Remember when we back stitched those several stitches on the tail to lock those stitches in? They're right here. They're on the bottom of the foot. You have to really look for them to see them. But they're right here. And so if I turn this sock inside out, and if I wanted to, which I typically don't, this one's exceptionally long. I probably will this one, but I don't have to. But you can see where I've got the two, but they're back stitched. So it's kind of like back stitching on your sewing machine. It locks those stitches so they don't come undone. So you shouldn't have any problems with anything. And there's our nifty little heel. I actually kind of like the way the sock looks inside out. So anyway, there we are. Further requests. Dun-da-da-da. No, my socks don't match perfectly, but you know what? That's half the fun of being me.